We have shocking video this evening from a recent U.S. Marines training drill in Yuma, Arizona, where it shows armed troops chasing down American citizens in a mock internment camp, this during a martial law style scenario. The exercise, which involved U.S. Marines from the 1st Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment, 1st Marine Division, it took place on April 18th and revolved around assault support tactics training. The video shows Marines landing in a helicopter on a field next to a busy highway. Local citizens can be seen watching the exercise over a chain link fence while role players take part in the drill. And by the way, these exercises are happening all across the country right now. One of the role players, you can see him right here, he tries to escape the compound and is chased down and handcuffed by an armed Marine. And you can even hear the role players shouting things out like, "Let me out!" Because, well, it looks like they are training to put Americans in internment camps. And if these drills are supposed to be for urban warfare in the Middle East, like the U.S. military claims, then why do the role players always shout things out like, "I'm a sovereign citizen, I have my rights," or "Don't take my guns"? I mean, that's the routine. That's what we're seeing from these drills. And why are they building mock cities like they did at Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia, where the street signs are clearly in English and they resemble an average American town? Don't forget, it was Alex Jones who went to a drill in California. This was several years ago, and he captured a video of the U.S. military processing American citizens into an internment camp. As the voice over the loudspeaker, well, you can hear him shouting, "We will not tolerate civil disobedience."
Attention, attention, attention. American forces are here to help. Remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience.
Now, if this was practice for the Middle East, you'd think they'd say something like, "We will not tolerate civil disobedience" in Arabic. I mean, wouldn't they? So as you can see, these drills have been occurring for a very long time, but there's no doubt that they are accelerating at a rapid pace right now as the U.S. military, well, it looks like they are training for martial law. And we all know that Jade Helm is coming in July, and that is a nationwide military exercise where troops will operate undercover amongst local populations. But we're not supposed to question any of that. And like Rick Perry said, the former governor of Texas, he said the other day, it's okay to question the federal government, but it's not okay to question the military.
I don't think there's a problem to question your government. I do it on a regular basis, and I think that's a healthy thing, to question your government. I don't think it's particularly healthy to question the military.
I mean, who does he think is in charge of the U.S. military to begin with? Check this out. I have right here in my hands, a U.S. Army training manual for civil disturbance operations, where it outlines how the military will be used domestically to control riots and confiscate firearms and even kill American citizens if they have to, right here on U.S. soil. This during civil unrest. "Warning shots will not be fired" is quoted in the PDF document. You can see it for yourself. Just Google search Army Manual outlines plan to kill rioters and demonstrators in America. It is posted on Infowars.com in an article by Paul Joseph Walton with links to the actual documents. So read it for yourself.
A breaking story out of Minnesota where at least 8 people were stabbed at a shopping mall. This happened just after 8 p.m. local time in St. Cloud, Minnesota, just about an hour outside of the Twin Cities area. According to police, a witness said the suspect made a reference to Allah and asked at least one person if they were Muslim before attacking them. Again, 8 people stabbed, treated for non-life-threatening injuries. 7 were released, and we know the suspect was shot and killed by an off-duty police officer.
The suspect was confronted by an off-duty officer not from St. Cloud and was shot and killed. There's no imminent threat, they said to the citizens of St. Cloud. The Crossroads Mall is going to be closed until further notice, and due to the nature of this active crime scene investigation, no additional information is going to be released at this time. But again, an armed suspect entered the Crossroads Mall and, based on one witness account, made references to Allah and asked that, at least one person if they were Muslim before assaulting them. There are 8 victims now transported to a hospital.
Terror in the mall. Dispatchers scramble to send help.
We're taking reports of shots fired and then people stabbed. We're sending people out to the north side of Macy's.
By then, 9 people had been stabbed. They all survived. The attacker did not. Shot dead by off-duty officer Jason Faulkner, who's being hailed a hero. According to the mayor's surveillance video, shows a customer running with children in tow, and then the suspect comes into frame.
You see him immediately lunge forward with a knife, and you've seen the officer fire. The suspect went down. He got back up. The officer fired again. He got back up. This was 3 times.
The man responsible, 22-year-old Dahir Adan. An ISIS-linked news agency tweeted he was one of their soldiers. The FBI is calling the attack a potential act of terrorism, while police are searching for more evidence of a link to ISIS. The attacker worked as a part-time security officer and was wearing his uniform during the stabbing. He lived in this modest apartment complex. From speaking to the family, would you say that this young man had assimilated as an American?
He was as an American as everybody else is.
Something clearly changed him. He says their son left home saying he was going to the mall to buy an iPhone. About 3 hours later, his family was informed he was dead, and many were wounded.
Terror has visited St. Cloud, and it is our job as members of this community for it not to find a home.
Indulge me for a moment. What if one of your relatives, spouse, child, or even you innocently absorbed the shrapnel from one of the bombs detonated in Manhattan on Saturday night? Or had just taken a knife wound in a mall in St. Cloud, Minnesota? Who would you hold accountable? The radicalized Black Lives Matter supporting Afghanistan-born suspect Ahmed Khan Rahami? Or the Kenyan-born Dahir Adan, a knife-wielding radical psychopath we are supposed to accept as a lone wolf? Or is it Donald Trump, because he is the only one cutting through the progressive BS, a display of honesty the PC culture has zero ability to accept after years of brainwashing to their own peril?
And I'll have more to say about it when we actually know some facts.
Well, I must tell you that just before I got off the plane, a bomb went off in New York, and nobody knows exactly what's going on. But boy, we are living in a time. We better get very tough, folks. We better get very, very tough.
Or are the true culprits sitting comfortably with no fear of persecution? Many of them equally as untouchable as Hillary Clinton, smugly pushing the narrative of the crisis and normalization of the jihadist invasion of these United States in the halls of the United Nations in New York City right now. Whoops. The AP reports the U.S. government has mistakenly granted citizenship to at least 858 immigrants from countries of concern to national security or with high rates of immigration fraud who had pending deportation orders, according to an internal Homeland Security audit released on Monday. The Washington Examiner reports nearly 20% of the 4,600 Syrian refugees already brought to the United States were settled in the New York, New Jersey area, the site of the weekend bombings that reportedly could be a dry run of future terror attacks. CNS News reported almost 100,000 Somali refugees have been resettled in the United States since 9/11, including 8,619 so far during the current fiscal year. The largest number, some 16% of the total over the past 15 years, have been resettled in Minnesota, home to the nation's biggest Somali American community. Of the 97,046 Somali refugees admitted to the U.S. since the fall of 2001, 99.6% were Muslim, and 28,836, 29.7%, were males between the ages of 14 and 50. Under Hillary Clinton's watch as Secretary of State, roughly 700,000 Muslim immigrants were brought in. A very conservative estimation claims that 10 to 20% of those are radicalized. And Obama still wants to keep bringing them in. That's his answer to 29 innocent Americans being shredded by shrapnel in Manhattan. Meanwhile, Londonistan Mayor Sadiq Khan is throwing the first ball at the Mets game as if all is going according to the globalist plan. We are under total attack by a destabilization agenda of Western culture, blinded by our own tolerance of a supposed religion of peace, actually in the process of a total jihad that has been in effect in one way, shape, or form for over 1,400 years. Our government didn't seem to have a problem killing a supposed radicalized religious cult in Waco. What makes the dormant terror cells across the United States any different? Are American citizens supposed to sit on their hands while fellow citizens are blown up on U.S. soil and casually reported in the news cycle, knowing full well that what has become the normalized terror in the Mideast is now going to be a day-to-day occurrence here in the United States, while the United Nations sets up a strong cities network intended to enforce the United Nations Small Arms Treaty? Our Constitution grants U.S. citizens the dividing powers between the central and state governments, the branches of government, a system of checks and balances, and equal representation of the states. President Obama has routinely violated that power, routinely supported by George Soros and the United Nations. With these latest attacks, there can be little doubt now a traitor occupies the White House, and another traitor intends on moving in.